Hello, everyone. You guys obviously know who I am. My name is Father Daniel, and this has been a video that's been a long time coming. Myself, and you'll get to know who Dr. Mark is, have been talking about making a video for the Chaldean community. And this video hopefully becomes a series over time, but we are making this specifically for the Chaldean community because we understand that everyone, any human being, can go through some sort of mental health problems. And while this is a reality, we want to take a chance, and you'll get to know everyone that's on this panel, to understand how to deal with mental health. What is mental health? And how you're able to seek help in that manner. So before I go any further, why don't we introduce ourselves? Like I said, everyone knows who I am here, but they don't know who you guys are. So Noor, why don't we start with you?
My name's Noor Giorgis. I'm a marriage and family therapist. I've been practicing for 4 years. And
In San Diego, right?
in San Diego.
Okay,
yes.
cool.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
very good. And you're Chaldean.
I'm Chaldean.
Okay, cool. Noor?
Hi, I'm Nora Abu, also marriage and family therapist, practicing for about 6 years now in San Diego, specifically North County.
And I'm Dr. Mark Maxwell. I have been practicing in San Diego for quite some time, but had the joy maybe about 5 or 6 years ago of actually having some Chaldean clients, and ever since then I've been immersed in your community, doing a lot of work with a lot of different people. Enough to learn. I'm still learning a lot about, because I am not Chaldean.
But you got the beard going on.
But
so
I'm working on it, yeah. But enough to really learn that there are some great obstacles that get in the way for some people to really look for help when they get stuck. A lot of stigma around mental and relational health. And I thought it would be fantastic to tap two of my former students from when I was a professor that are now doing great work in the community, and you guys are the experts on your culture and how mental health works. And so anyway, yeah, this has been a long time coming.
Yes, it has been. Okay, so obviously you guys see there are experts here to talk about mental health, and I just want to make one distinction. So the reason why they're here is because priests aren't therapists, right? Priests aren't psychologists. Maybe some have degrees in it, so on and so forth, but the majority of them are not. And we shouldn't get these two things confused, because a priest and the church is able to provide spiritual guidance, right? Whereas everyone else sitting here, they're experts in dealing with certain mental health issues, whether it's problems in a marriage, problems with kids in a family, problems with anxiety, with depression, whatever, so on and so forth. So with that being said, I want to start it off with when someone is going through a difficult time, and you guys feel free to chime in how you guys see fitting, but when someone is going through a hard time with whatever mental health issues there is, some people say, so this is one of the stigmas, where people say there's something wrong with me. What's wrong with me? Why is this happening to me? And then there's a sort of a panic, within a relationship, within a family, within the individual. So what do you guys, think about that and your approach to that stigma that has been placed on mental health?
I think that first off, and Nora would attest to this as marriage and family therapists, what distinguishes us oftentimes from the other helping professions isn't that we just serve marriages and families, but that we have a different philosophy about mental health and change. We look at people in context. The only way to really understand a person is to understand who they are in their life and their relationships. And unfortunately, the history of mental health has been more of a medical type model, where we have a diagnosis, it's kind of like a disease.
Sure.
You have depression, or there's something, and that makes people think, oh my gosh, there's something wrong with me. But we tend to look at it differently. We look at people as being stuck, that we are all and have the ability to adapt and to change our circumstances and interact with our environment, but sometimes we get stuck. And so things like anxiety, depression, even struggles in relationships and marriage are normal, natural things because everybody's trying to work through that stuck place. You know, which shouldn't be a shameful thing. It should be a thing where, and quite honestly, I know you say that, you know, priests don't, you know, do this kind of work, but honestly, that's where people come a lot of times is,
Sure.
is for help in getting through relationships
Sure,
and
sure.
for stuck points. And, you know, you've had that history for a long time.
Yeah.
Um,
And I've developed this knowledge that I didn't have of
Yeah.
being able to, you know, understand that people will come to the church with these problems, and you know, we work it out as best as possible. And that's why, you know, I've been keeping you guys busy, you know,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
it's that baton that you're
Mhm.
passing off, you know.
Yeah.
So that's a good point, you know. So it works hand in glove. And this also brings me to another point. So obviously, you know, the Chaldean community is very tight knit. You know, we're very tight knit people. If someone sneezes in the backyard, everyone will hear about it, right? So,
I've heard about it.
yeah. So another issue that sort of follows up with this is, okay, is there something wrong with me? You explained how, no, it's a matter of being stuck, but then it follows through with, okay, people will talk about me, right? You know, I'm going to be the talk of the town of being labeled as this person that doesn't know how to get their act together, you know. So you guys as professionals, what is the response to that?
Well, I feel there's, you know, when you're stuck, or anyone that's stuck, they feel that, you know, they can't ask for help because the fear of judgment, the fear of, you know, being known as someone who has a problem, right? When we just discuss that it's not a problem, it's more of, you know, I'm stuck and I'm concerned and I want to do something about it, but I can't, right? So your hands are tied. And those are common feelings I feel like develop, and again, natural feelings like anxiety, sadness, the struggle, you know, the struggle gets real. And so, you know, that stops us from taking that additional step that we want to take towards, you know, having that accomplishment where, you know, there is, you know, the struggle that is coming my way,
Sure.
and then you are overcoming it. And the way you do that is hard, especially in the community when, you know,
Yeah.
the access to it. It's like there's this stigma, right?
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
access. A lot of people don't access it.
Yeah.
And that's why we're here today, because we want to normalize therapy,
Yeah, yeah.
you know.
And you mentioned something actually. You said being anxious in some circumstances is a natural feeling. And I remember I was talking to you, I think it was after you spoke to the adult group I had here, but you mentioned how, you gave the example, it's pretty cool, of how it should be natural when, you know, let's say a lion runs into your room to be scared. You know,
Right.
that's a natural thing. If you don't get scared, okay, then there's, you know, something really going on with you.
Right.
You know,
Yeah, that's the bigger problem is if you're not reacting,
exactly.
you know, with natural emotions that come up to any situation. And let's be honest, to be stuck or to have, if the lion keeps running in the room and you feel helpless, how do I stop this? And this keeps happening to me. That's hard. It's frustrating. It's painful. You know,
Scary.
it's scary.
Sure.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you're going to feel that, especially over time if you don't know what to do,
Yeah.
you know. And then to be, I think the part that makes it harder is if you feel then you are alone with that. You can't talk about it. I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. I know I'm stuck.
Yeah.
Then that's when we start to feel alone and we can't go anywhere and we're helpless, that's when things really get difficult and painful, you know, and it doesn't have to be that way, as you know,
Sure.
we're talking about.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, especially in our community where, you know, just how it is very stigmatized to have like anxiety or depression, and nobody talks about these things with their families. And you're naturally going to feel very alone, and it can feel very scary to go to somebody else when that's just such a foreign thing and something that's never really been encouraged or discussed otherwise. And kind of like you were discussing, somebody sees us in the backyard and everybody hears about it. And how is somebody from that cultural background supposed to come to a therapist, let alone a Middle Eastern one, and say, how do I know you're not going to call my great aunt and tell her everything that I just told you?
And I want to talk about this because you have to look at it this way. A lot of people who have migrated here from back home, there were a lot of trust issues. We're in the midst of a lot of people who betrayed us, right? We're in the midst of tyranny, complete tyranny, and that has placed a toll on the psyche of a person. So when we come here, we become Americans and we adapt to this culture, but there's still something that's sort of holding us back. So what would be your guys' response to someone saying, how can I trust you? How can I come and literally tell you everything about myself? Because it's almost like a trust fall. Are you going to catch me? So have at it.
Faith. You take chances in life, and realistically, you don't know what the outcome is going to be of anything that you get involved in or take a risk in. And, as therapists, within the initial minutes of meeting with a new client, we have to disclose the terms of confidentiality and whatnot. And again, this could mean nothing to somebody who doesn't really get it and, comes from a community of everybody knows everybody's business.
But you do go through that?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So that could almost be, it's probably synonymous to your physician, right?
Your physician, your lawyers.
So that's a gravity of seriousness.
Well, Noor makes a good point. Like there's a degree of faith and trust because you may not know this, but our profession is built on that ethic. We have to keep these things confidential. If we don't, and we have a reputation for sharing, then we're not going to be able to do any work. Nobody's going to trust us. So, our reputations, our licenses are all built on those foundations of ethics.
Yeah.
Where we have to be, trustworthy and confidential and have the best interest of our clients.
Sure. And to be honest with you, I deal with the same thing when people come to me. How could I go to confession by a priest that may or may not see something, So I deal with this too. Sometimes I tell the person, listen, if you really think I'm going to lose my entire priesthood because I want to talk about a sin you just told me,
yeah, exactly.
You're so far off right now.
Yeah. Totally.
And I get that,
Yeah, and a huge part of it obviously is promoting client autonomy. So you don't want to push them any further than they're, more than comfortable than going, right? So
sure.
Start, just kind of whatever they're comfortable with, and you just kind of go with it.
So what's it like? So you guys tell me the procedure. Is it someone contacts your office and then you contact them and then they come in for an initial meeting, you introduce yourselves? What's it like?
Yeah, the minute that somebody contacts us, yes, the first thing we want to do is make somebody feel comfortable and safe. The felt sense of safety. Okay, I can be here, I can talk, I can be my authentic person, I can share what's ever going on with me and feel safe is so critical. So we start that work the minute we come into contact with somebody. When they do actually get in front of us as a client, then we have the ethics that we share in that moment that say, hey, we have confidentiality in this place. There are some exceptions to confidentiality that we also share with them. Like if you were to say, hey, I feel like I'm going to kill myself, and you run off to go jump off the Coronado Bridge, then I would have to break confidentiality, right? Because I need to save your life, essentially, right? So we let people know, like, yeah, there are some moments where we would break that, but it's also something that we do together, that just like in your case, it's like anybody, we want their best interest. We want them to feel safe. We want to let them know the boundaries, you know, and we want them to be able to feel like they can come in and we're not going to share with anybody, you know. And if we needed to, for example, if somebody said, hey, I do want you to talk with somebody. I want you to call Father
Like
Danny
when
and
families are involved and the
Mhm.
priests are involved and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
We have to do written authorization. We actually, you know, have somebody sign, and it's very specific for this purpose and this reason, in this date, from this date to this date, so that everybody's very clear as to the parameters and the limitations, so that people feel safe.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to get back to this, but something I want to follow this up with is what are reasons for people to seek mental health guidance? So one, I'm sure would be couples counseling, marriage counseling. You know, you're a marriage and family therapist. So what would be the process? Because I'm sure the process is different with different cases, you know. So how would someone know they need help and guidance in marriage counseling with a therapist? How would someone know that? Because it's very easy for a couple to say all couples fight, you know, all couples do this, all married men do this, all married women do this, whatever, so on and so forth. So what would be your response to that?
You know, it varies. Per
Oh, I'm sure.
person,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I'm
And
sure.
So, I believe, you know, the moment when someone realizes that the difficulties that come across their way, whether it's in a marriage or children, or could be kids with bullying, if it's impacting that individual or a family,
And there's
in
damage.
different aspects of their life,
Mm.
right? It's not just like, oh, you know, we all fight, we'll get over it. No, if it's actually impacting their emotional well-being, their mental health, their physical well-being, all these things develop through time. And so as soon as you see that these things are coming up for you and you're developing symptoms, you know, like, you know, you're isolating from your friends, you're not talking to people, you're developing more anxious feelings, right? Fears. It could be so many things, right? And so as soon as you, or one who sees those things come up for them, and even when you ask the questions of, I need help, and then you find yourself stuck, that's when you reach out. Yeah, it varies per person.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with everything you just said. And in a nutshell, I think it's when you realize, based on all those symptoms that develop, when your way of managing or coping or dealing with things is just simply not working anymore, or like Dr. Maxwell was saying earlier, that that feeling of being stuck, and when that becomes evident through all of those other behaviors or symptoms that you're seeing, and I think is definitely a telltale sign of, for a lot of people, where like, okay, I need to figure something else out here.
I think that also, you know, paying attention, we talk about symptoms a lot, you know, but in our work, we don't focus on the symptoms.
Right.
Symptoms are only lead us to what maybe is going on deeper inside, which is usually fairly normal and,
Okay.
you know, not shameful.
Sure.
But for example, though, like, your body will tell you, if you were physically sick, your body tells you through symptoms, you know. Your body will also tell you if you have some emotional issues, if you're not able to sleep, if you're not able to relax, you know, if things are happening for you that are getting in the way of you living the life that you want to live, of you being able to have the kind of relationship you want to have, of you being able to work and do what you need to do. If things are getting in the way of that, you pay attention to that. And sometimes, most of us, we can go, oh, this is what's happening. I think this is what's happening, and this is what I need to do. But sometimes we may not know. We go, I just know that this is happening. I feel this way. I'm not able to sleep. I can't talk to my wife for whatever reason. I'm afraid that all this will happen, and I can't talk to my wife, and our marriage isn't working the way I want it to, and I don't know what to do about it. You know, those are the times where your body's going to tell you that through your anxiety. Your relationship, if you look at it and go, this isn't what we know, this isn't working the way it's supposed to work. And like Noor was saying, it's a spectrum. You know, I've worked with people who, with marriage issues, some are newlyweds, some are premarital, some have been married, you know, early and don't have a lot of really, really serious issues, you know, and they're learning how to work out and talk and connect with each other and work through things. But I also work with people who've gone for long periods of time, who've experienced maybe trauma in their life, and trauma is a big deal. You know, you were talking about trauma from, you know, a couple generations of people who have been betrayed, who have been persecuted, you know, and all the challenges that come here. Those things can build up, you know, and then get in the way and cause reactions that you don't, like, why am I feeling this way? Why is this happening to me? Why am I anxious and nervous and all these things happening? You know, and that gets in the way of relationship. And then maybe if I feel alone and I don't know what to do and I'm just hurting, I might turn to other things. I might turn to alcohol and drink a lot, you know. I might isolate in the garage and smoke hookah. I hear that one's popular, right? You know, these things I hear all the time.
Stop smoking hookah.
You know, and I get in these places where these habits form that then are hurting my relationship, you know, and somebody else says, hey, hold on, this isn't working, you know. So the spectrum is wide.
I also want to add, not everyone needs to or has to have an issue or a problem to come seek therapy. Therapy is welcome for everyone, even if you don't have severe issues. You know?
I'm really glad you brought that up.
Yeah, because I feel like it's the most amazing
Right.
process.
It's like getting a checkup at the doctor's office or
Honestly.
going to a chiropractor and just
Right.
you know,
Getting adjusted.
getting
yeah.
a tune-up.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
we need a tune-up up here too.
Exactly.
You know,
You know, like if people go to the salon, they love that, you know, moment, and they talk with their, you know, person, and then if the guy hairdresser, and then a guy goes to the barber, and then, you know, they're talking about
nothing is like barber
challenges.
talks.
Right.
Yeah.
And so the therapeutic process, it's a beautiful thing, and I feel like everyone should experience it at least once.
So what I've heard, to follow up with that, is some people saying, "Oh, I went once, didn't work out, not happening again." Oh, look, I'm still the same. I'm still anxious, or I'm still depressed, or I'm still fighting with my husband, or my kids are still yelling at me. What's the response to that? You know?
Yeah, I mean, if it doesn't work once, it doesn't mean it's not going to work again. It's sometimes that therapeutic relationship, again, it's very important.
So it's to build a relationship with
Yes.
them, and in order to build that, you need more than obviously one
Let's say
session.
let's say you went once and then you enjoyed it, but you're like, I can't connect with this therapist, right? And you're like, I'll give it another shot. You go again and you confirm that that's not, you know, the therapist that you want to come again and see. That's okay. It's totally okay. I'm sure you guys agree, and I think it's completely and absolutely okay to go and seek another therapist, where you can build that trust, that relationship, and it's a beautiful thing, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it's even encouraged, honestly. I mean, I've had clients come to me that will tell me at the first session, I'm interviewing therapists right now, and you know, I'm shopping, and I think that's and I praise them for it. I think that's really smart. Like, you know what you're looking for, you know, because the relationship is the most important part of therapy, honestly, that rapport. And, you know, I think it's important that you feel comfortable with the person that you're talking to. And, you know, our needs are different throughout different seasons of our life, you know, and so one therapist might be really great for somebody during whatever phase that they might be in, and, you know, years down the road, they might be facing different issues where maybe that's not the best fit.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And we focus on process, you know.
What do you mean by that?
Everything in our lives is a process. Has there been anything that you've gone to where you're like one and done? Like, the magic isn't in the specific results.
No.
You know? But you know what I'm saying? Like we go and it's your mind, your body, all those things work in learning and experience, right? And sometimes you have a breakthrough experience-wise. I grew up an athlete in sports and stuff like that. You get coached and you work on things and you practice, and then one day, boom, it clicks, and you're like, oh my gosh, and you feel different and you do it differently, and sometimes that's because you were missing a piece. Sometimes you didn't just experience enough really success to be confident. Maybe there was a piece of insight that once you learned it and you kind of put it into use and you experienced your person a different way, your mother, your father, your partner. So there's so many things, but it's all in a process. It doesn't just, it's not just information. It's not like here's the information, okay, you should be good.
Yeah.
You gotta, have the experience of that information in action in your life. And that happens in relationship. We walk with people through that. We walk with you through that. We don't just go, okay, good job, good luck. We work it through, and then when you get stuck, we say, okay, what's getting in the way? Let's take a step back. Let's figure out what's going on inside and what you need, So
What you need.
What you need.
And I think I want to take it home with this, with what you need. Because I think no, and you guys chime in, okay? Because this goes back to what we mentioned in the beginning, is if there is something we need, then nothing should stop that need. For example, a stigma.
Right.
For example, embarrassment. For example, whatever it may be. Nothing should stop, because I think, and you guys please chime in, things will get more detrimental, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. When you get stuck and you feel anxiety, or you feel sadness, or you feel helpless, you may start to try to do things to help that, and it only makes it worse. If you're stuck, you're stuck. Stuck is a painful place to be. It's a lonely place to be. And it doesn't just magically get better if you don't know what to do. Context can change. Those kinds of things can change. But do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Emotions too, this is the thing when it comes to what you need. I think you guys tell me, I think there's a negative stigma to emotion. That if you have emotion like upset, frustration, anger, that means there's something wrong with you. You shouldn't be so emotional, right? Or there's, that kind of stuff. But oftentimes when we step back and we say, why am I feeling this way? When you get underneath it, you find there's something I need. I'm nervous, I'm scared, I'm sad, but I haven't quite got to that place to really understand what it is I need and how to get it. And so that turns into frustration, that turns into anger, that turns into isolation or any of those kinds of things. Does that make sense?
It's that cause and effect.
Yeah. So listening to and understanding our emotions aren't a bad thing. They actually can be a pathway into understanding, okay, this is what's going on inside, and there's a need there. And when we get that need, some sort of comfort or care or reassurance or contact, that we go, oh, okay, I'm not alone. I feel connected. I feel good.
Would it be prudent to use the example of untying a knot, one after another, and sometimes it takes time to untie that knot, and for some people the knot is much harder than others,
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it gets painful and frustrating at first, but then, once you get that break, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, got it. I got it now. And it starts to come apart, But I think a bigger piece in that whole process is if I was to tell you, okay, I'm going to give you this address in downtown Mexico City, right? You need to go there, you need to get this thing, right? that might, you've never been to Mexico City. Maybe you've been told that Mexico City is really dangerous.
People are going to say, what's
know?
Father Daniel doing in Mexico?
What are people going to think?
Someone
That kind of
sneezing in the
stuff.
backyard.
Yeah, But if I said that to you and all those feelings of nervousness or anxiousness come up or whatever, and if you went on your way there, you were going to be very vigilant. You're going to be very careful. You're going to be very looking.
Sure,
right?
sure.
But let's say you did it a few times. Over time, you're going to feel a little bit better.
Smooth sailing, yeah.
Yeah, until you're, autopilot. Oh, just going to get this. But in those beginning moments in that time period, if I was to say you could do it alone, or I could come with you, which one are you going to choose?
Hop in,
Yeah,
go to Mexico.
right.
Yeah.
And that connection that we have and that relationship we have helps you feel like, okay,
I have assurance, this.
to regulate.
Yeah,
I can get through this now. And if I start to feel nervous, I can turn and say, hey, where are we at? What's going on? That's a lot like therapy.
Interesting.
And then you mentioned emotions, right? In the culture, right, the main emotion that comes up, whether man or woman, right, it's anger in our culture. And that's a place where...
No, it's not, man.
No, really?
I proved this point.
But that's the thing. It's the culture. That's what's been passed down, and other cultures as well, like the Hispanic culture. That
Sure.
they call it the machismo. Way of growing up. You're a man. You don't cry, and it's like, no, that we're avoiding emotions, right? We're avoiding the process of feeling these emotions where we can actually make change, right? Like when we're frustrated, let's say you go to Mexico and you can't find the address, you're like, darn it,
Yeah.
That's bringing up the frustration, and it's like, okay, well, that's the therapy process, right? We talk about these emotions. Sure, anger will pop up, and again, that's part of the process, right?
Yeah.
And the therapy is the safest place to be able to talk about why the anger shows up, how we can overcome this anger, because the anger is masking the emotions that are hard to talk about.
Sure. Yeah.
The helplessness, the hopelessness. Sometimes people feel useless, and that's, I feel like that's where when someone comes to therapy, they have the ability to dive deep and really get to the bottom of why am I stuck and how do I get out.
Like, anger, for example. How often have you heard, when somebody's angry, you're crazy?
Right.
That's because I don't understand. I'm just getting angry, and when I experience somebody else angry, I tend to get a little like, whoa, back off, right? But if they were sharing a fear, for example, I'm afraid, well, that's a little safer for me to come in and go, oh, what's going on, right? But we get stuck in anger. And look, anger is a sign of helplessness, Anger is a sign of like, there's some sort of threat, some sort of thing that's happening that is making me uncomfortable, and I don't know what to do about it, If I was to, if I was coming at you, and I cornered you and you were in the corner of the room and you couldn't run, right? And you were forced to either fight me, or do nothing and get beat up, right?
Hit a priest, man. I'll see you in the confession. See you in the confession.
Yeah. Well, I have to answer to a higher power, right? But you understand, like, what happens in your body is like you feel
Intense.
the adrenaline go up. You feel those things
Intensity.
go up, and you say, like, I'm going to have to do something here, or this is frustrating. You feel it go up. It's because you're stuck. Your options are get beat up or be a fighting priest.
Sure, yeah.
Maybe you feel good as a fighting priest. I don't know. But you know what I'm saying?
Put your money on me.
I got you.
But our body is, reacting to being stuck, and that comes out as frustration, or, and over time that can lead to more frustration, leads to anger, and then people go, oh, you're crazy, there's something wrong with you,
Yeah. And one thing that I want everyone to understand that's listening is, I know we didn't go into depth into different mental health issues, and there's a reason for that, because what we're doing now is the beginning of a series that we're going to continue. And the series will go into, for example, one episode will be on anxiety. What is anxiety? What are the different symptoms of someone who suffers from anxiety? And, for example, someone with depression. How do you know you're depressed? How you're able to go through that? How you're able to get through that? What precautions you should be taking if you are suffering from any depressive modes or episodes or whatever it may be, even with couples, married couples. So what we're doing now is we're sort of building this foundation for something much greater. And again, this is for everyone that's listening to this. This is for you guys. Everyone here took time out of their day, traveled from, some of you from further places, because not everyone lives in El Cajon, believe it or not.
What?
Yeah, it's weird.
Crazy.
And and another thing we're going to be doing, which I'm excited for, is we're going to be also doing a few of these series in Arabic and Chaldean, for anyone that needs help with that. Because I've also come into, some situations where, someone only knows Arabic or someone only knows Surah, Chaldean. And that sort of puts a barrier in front of people thinking that, okay, if they only speak Arabic or English, that means they still haven't adapted to the American culture, right? Which also means that therapy, it's non-existent. It becomes something that doesn't exist, because there is no such thing, I'll tell you right now, no such thing as therapy in Iraq. Maybe there were very minimal doctors who maybe covered the surface very lightly, but that's it, But hopefully this becomes something that ignites the person to understand that, okay, this isn't so bad after all, or this isn't so embarrassing after all, or, these stigmas that people put on mental health, are folly and shouldn't be, taken into consideration, really.
There may not have been a traditional Western idea of therapy, in Iraq, but I guarantee you there's been a history of people helping other people in times of need and struggle. There's been people that you can go to. This has been since the beginning of time.
Like informal.
Yeah, informal, or if we go hundreds and hundreds of years ago, we might have gone to, the parish priest. We might have gone to the healer in the community.
So the priest was everything. Yeah, you
Yeah.
make a good point. In the villages, the priest was.
Or we might have gone to the elder in the family.
Yeah.
Right? We might have gone to but the bottom line is, we all have the capacity to help each other. We all have that capacity and that need to go and get help and get either somebody to come and walk in with us and help us through a process when we get stuck.
Like in Genesis, it's not good for man to be alone.
Exactly.
Created Eve,
And so the first biggest piece is just getting over the idea that, oh my gosh, I can't go there because that means I'm crazy. That means there's something wrong with me. What if there's nothing wrong with you? What if it's just, if I hear your story and I go, well, of course you're going to feel that way. Absolutely. That makes sense to me, right? Just that feeling of, okay, maybe I'm not crazy, but I just need help. That's the biggest first obstacle, But we have gotten, and Nora, I'll tell you, we have gotten to this place in our mental health world where mental health means, oh, you're crazy, or there really is something wrong with you, or you're sick, or, and we don't have that in our family. Well, that's not us, so that's not me. And that's been...
We need to be picture perfect.
Yeah, that's gotten in the way, of healing.
Yeah, and hopefully this brought, some more clarity to this topic. And like I said, this isn't going to be the last you'll hear from us. So don't forget, everyone sitting here, they're all professionals who studied this, who have degrees in different mental health professions. And if you guys were to leave whoever's listening with one thing, what would you say? Sorry, I need to put you on the spot. We'll start here.
There's a quote that I love, and it's like, it goes like this. The darkness is a very obviously dark place, right? But there's always light. You just have to turn on the light, right? That's you being able to go and flick the light switch on. That's equivalent to you going and seeking help. And like Mark said, you could go to an elder in the family, a friend that could validate how you feel, a priest, a therapist, right? And so reach out for help. Don't be stuck.
Give it a chance.
Give it a chance.
That's what I would say.
Yeah, I really love the conversation and the points that, you know, Noor and Dr. Maxwell were making just with regard to emotions, and you know, don't ignore that. You know, all of that anger comes from a place of sadness 100% of the time. And I think in a culture that's not exactly sitting at the dinner table eating dolma and talking about feelings, it feels very strange, but it's totally normal and it's okay, and don't ignore it.
Absolutely. You're not crazy, and you don't have to be alone. I think that's the big piece. That, you know, I like to talk about, sometimes to describe it as bandwidth. You know, like we have a certain bandwidth to be able to handle and manage distress in our lives. And sometimes we get taxed. You know, things happen in life. We maybe lose a loved one, or we have overwhelm at work, maybe a huge demand in parenting. And all of that takes up the emotional bandwidth, you know. And sometimes we get overwhelmed, and we have needs, and we struggle, and we get stuck. We don't have to be alone with that. That's natural, that's normal, you know. And unfortunately, if our bandwidth is full, then the other people, important people in our lives who may be coming to us, we aren't going to be able to manage those relationships.
We don't have the capacity for it. Yeah.
Exactly. And so we need to be able to sometimes take care of ourselves, or work on ourselves, or work on our relationship or our marriage. You know, a couple that has a strong marriage and is able to resource each other then can parent and has a lot of bandwidth for their kids. But then if a couple is constantly struggling with each other and they feel alone and hurt, that takes a lot. And then they don't have as much for other family members or for their kids or for parenting, you know. So you don't have to be alone with this. You don't, and you're not crazy if you're struggling, or if you're taxed, or if you're overwhelmed. You know, if you're feeling these emotions come up. This doesn't mean you're crazy. It just means maybe you need to get some help, or to talk about it, or have somebody just sit and organize it with you and help you figure it out.
Good. Okay. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate it. Thank you all. And of course, we'll see you next time. Thanks.